I've just finished a primitive survival skills course here at the survival school. Now during that course I used extensively this little tool. Whilst it's not a primitive tool, to make things happen in an expedient way rather than using bone and stone the entire course, I encourage students to bring along a knife to expedite the process of doing some of the carving and whittling away work that need to do to make things on this course. And it gave me an opportunity to test this knife. This is a knife made by a good mate of mine, Ross. Ross makes knives at the Rifleman Knives website, Facebook page. You can follow that stuff up, and I'll put a link at the bottom for this. But basically, just so you understand where this knife has been over the last 2 days. This blade has been put through the absolute mill. So first thing, let's start with the outside packaging of it in terms of the Kydex sheath that Ross builds up. This is a really compact little unit, right? So it sits very well on the body, and that's a useful thing, of course, when you're bushcrafting or you're using a survival tool in any capacity, because you want it on your body. Not too big and cumbersome that you tend to put it down. I've been wearing this in that reverse mode on my belt most of the weekend, so I've gotten used to this. Very, very comfortable pulling out and reinserting and allowing the Kydex sheath itself to hold the knife in. It's got no chance of falling out of there whatsoever, so Ross has done an exceptional job of bedding that in so that it's firm and that knife's always going to be there when I need it. In terms of the performance of the blade itself, it has been quite exceptional. Ross, I believe, put a 20-degree bevel on the sharpening edge. That's been sort of resharpened to about a 23, 23.5, because that's the edge I prefer to use. And both pre-resharpening the knife and before that, this blade has performed exceptionally. In terms of basic knife skills, it has retained its sharpness throughout to allow me to continue to just ergonomically chew through all the material. I've even used this knife on bone over the course of the weekend, and you know, while it wasn't heavy duty butchering, dry bone doesn't usually sit well with knives. It tends to take the edge off them very, very quickly. And this knife has had minimal retouch since then. So in terms of its ability as a good fieldcraft, bushcraft knife, it's right up there. I can't really fault it in any way, shape or form. The only problem I've had with it was in batoning thick pieces of log apart, where I had a little bit of length restriction. But for the size of blade that this is, that would be more than acceptable and more than something I would expect. Right? The thickness of that belly of blade gives this thing a really good ergonomic feel when I'm working with it. There's no fancy stuff on the back of the blade, there's no saws and wannabe things that impact on my ability to use the back of the blade fully and functionally. So that's been a really excellent sort of design trait of this particular knife. So when I'm locking thumbs in at the back here, I'm just slicing through wood easily, and it's a pleasure to work with a tool like this. The size has been really good, and I've actually enjoyed this almost tanto shaped bevel that he's put in the blade here, because I've used that quite a few times as a chisel in this sort of direction over the course of the weekend. Making everything from primitive fish hooks to bamboo water boilers to palm frond containers, you know, stuff like this, which requires an exceptionally sharp blade to cut through that material, have all been greatly assisted by Ross's knife. So look, if you're interested in knowing more about that, check out Ross's Facebook page, which is Rifleman Knives, and have a look at what he's making. He's making a whole range of knives. Certainly this is a jarrah handle with brass pinning. It's a full tang, great little tool, and it has certainly, you know, stood the test of time in terms of this has been literally bashed half to death this weekend, because I'm very, very practical with the way I use a knife. There's nothing precious about a knife when it's a bushcrafting / survival tool to me. I don't do precious knives. I have put this through the mill, and this has held up well. If it hadn't, you'd be getting that information from me as well. So I'm pleased to report that this is a really good tool, and for what you pay for them, I'd say that is well worth the investment. So check them out, Rifleman Knives.